A few weeks ago, I made my first Dorodango. It's not the best, but I also did it without looking anything up and just going in blind, and I think it turned out pretty good. But I'm gonna challenge myself to make a perfect one because I know I can do better, and I love challenges so much. I'm gonna actually read some directions and probably end up using the metric system. Since I'm taking this challenge seriously, I bought clay and sand from Amazon. I have a scale so that I can actually measure out the proper proportions. A tin for the water, a bag to mix it in, and olive oil to help with the shining. The tutorial I watched in preparation for this said that 220 grams of clay mixed with 80 grams of sand is the optimal ratio, so that's what I'm going with here. After it's measured out, we need to mix the bag up before adding 40 grams of water. The goal here is to saturate all the dirt and work it until it starts to clump up into like little balls. But this was still very dry, so I added an additional 25 grams of water and worked that in, and it was ready to start forming the ball. I form the ball mostly in the bag, then I do some final shaping by hand before rolling it on the mat to help make it more spherical. This thing is fairly dense, but it still feels fragile, and oddly enough, it's warm to the touch. I rolled for about half an hour and then set it up to dry overnight. Okay, so it's the next day. I came in to check on the Dorodango, and it's not doing too good. It cracked at some point during the night, I think, because there's not enough sand and the outer layer of clay dried too soon. I'm gonna add more sand and overall reduce the size of the ball. Also, the time lapse I normally do didn't work either, so I couldn't even show that. So last night was a bad night all around for me trying to make this video, but we're gonna give it another go. I do the same thing as before, but with half the amount of sand and clay. I stick to the same 40 grams of water since I had to add more the first time. This time around, it's coming along a lot quicker than the first attempt, but the ball itself isn't really rounding the way I would like, so I grabbed the shaping glass to try to round it out more. I wet the glass to help it move easier on the surface since it's more of an egg shape than a sphere right now. I add a lot more water to it since it's hard as a rock and it keeps cracking. Then it just comes apart in my hand. So I'm going to go back to what worked the first time I did this, which is dirt from the backyard. And on to attempt number 3. I let it dry for about 20 minutes and then shape it into a sphere with the glass. I want to leave it a bit rough so the clay has something to bite into since I'm worried that it won't grab hold since I've been having issues with it crumbling so far. I let it dry overnight, but it dried a lot rougher than I thought it would. Day 3 of my 2-day weekend project. First things first, let's take care of the desk so we have a clean space to work with.
Now to set up some water by adding a couple drops of olive oil. I start by knocking the loose dirt off before I start adding the bag clay to the surface. When it gets too wet, I set it aside to let it dry. But while that's drying, I started to wonder if this clay will even shine. So I grabbed the old cracked one to see what would happen. I put that one to the side for later and start to work on the main one, and it's just not working out. The bond between the different textures isn't holding up, and it's falling apart. Luckily, I have a backup core of sorts. It's the spare I made for my first attempt, in case something bad happened, and I would classify this as something bad. I think I figured out why I was having so much trouble with that clay. The bag says it's for mask, like those ones at a spa, which could explain why it was getting hot while drying, but I'm not really sure since I've never done a mud mask thing before because I'm a dude. But if you do know, leave me a comment down below. This core took a bit to start soaking up some of the water. I think it's from where it was sitting for a couple weeks. But once it did, I started layering in dirt that I previously put through a coffee grinder to start smoothing out the surface. I started layering on top of the low spots and working it in with my palm to help accelerate the process. Day 4 of my 2-day project. I started making some progress on getting everything to smooth out, but it's just going really, really slow. It's day 5 and I don't feel like I'm making any progress. In fact, it seems more like it's getting worse the more I go. It's now day 6 of a 2-day build. I have gone through 3 bags of dirt. My hands are starting to get sore. And honestly, I haven't got to do anything but go to work and rub dirt on this ball this week. I think tomorrow I am going to try to polish it, and whatever happens, so be it. It's now time to polish and see what we get. It's been a few days since I finished this project, but life happens sometimes. So here it is. And it's terrible. Oh my god, this is so bad. I've been debating on even posting this, but for all intents and purposes, this is a failure. And failures happen in life sometimes, but this is what this channel's all about. It's me trying new things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but learning lessons from this and documenting the process. Even if there are setbacks. I've had several things go wrong on this one, between that clay mask and recording issues. I also think since the core I used on this was a few weeks old, it may have hardened up too much to actually bond with the new layers of dirt, since everything just started coming off as soon as the rag touched it. The main takeaway I have from all of this is that it never works out to chase perfection. Things being good enough is perfectly fine, and honestly, I'm sick of playing in the dirt. I think I'm gonna do something in metal next. See you in the next one.